funny. I learned to do all these random tricks on a skateboard over 10 years ago, and I haven't really done them since, but my body still sort of has the muscle memory. Let's see what else I can do. Hello from Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Unfortunately, the mood is much like the weather today. Despite it being Khmer New Year, the city has never been so quiet, which is really unfortunate. And the reason being is last night, Phnom Penh went into a full lockdown. So now we are confined to our homes. So basically my apartment downstairs and this rooftop right here, which I'm very grateful to have. So I can still do some physical activities like rediscover skateboarding. I'm gonna count that. But anyway, with all that being the case, there is no more possibility of going out and doing any urban exploration and documenting that with my camera. So I'm gonna have to change things up. One thing I've never done is created a video that's indoors or told a very personal story. So I thought, why not do both and tell the story of my home? This right here is my 24th home in my 12th country. And in 5 days, we're moving to a new home that has a little bit more space for the both of us. And this is something I wish I had done for my 23 other homes, which are now fading memories. So this video right here is more of a personal video for my future self that will serve as a sort of time capsule to take me back to this apartment in Cambodia. So without further ado, let's go downstairs, and as we make our way downstairs, let me tell you about my 23 other homes, essentially a whole story of my life. So let's go. Let me step in there. I started scripting out this idea to tell the story of my life, and even in its most condensed form, it comes out to be long enough to create a whole other video. So that being the case, why not just make a whole other video in the future? For now, I will try to tell the story in 1 minute, and in doing so, I will omit many details, but it should give you just about enough necessary context. But without further ado, 1 minute. Let's go. We begin in 1992. I grew up in a little French village where I attended primary school and then moved to Hamburg, Germany to complete secondary school. From there, I went on to university in Dublin, Ireland, where I moved twice until going on university exchange in Montreal, Canada. And once back in Ireland, and before finishing my bachelor, I spent a summer in Sydney, Australia doing a research scholarship. I then went on to pursue a master's in London, and from there I ended up doing research in Vietnam before returning to London to start my new first formal job for a German smart city, smart mobility company, who later moved me to the south of Germany. And this is where things get really messy. 7 months into my new job in Germany, I left to go work in Ethiopia for an NGO on a UN project. And once in the Ethiopian capital, I moved to a couple different apartments. This sadly came to an end, but I had found work in the meantime in the Middle East. And so I moved to Dubai and lived in a number of different homes until 2019, when I decided to take a break from my industry to co-found a company in Switzerland. 7 months later, I realized it wasn't for me, and I went back to Dubai to continue my previous job. And while there, in February 2020, I decided to go on a holidays in the Philippines, which was the time when COVID went from being a Chinese virus to a global pandemic. And so I found myself locked out of Dubai, and I've since never returned. And instead, I spent my lockdown in Belgium with the parents. Thank you for taking me back, until a job found me right here in Cambodia. And that takes us to present day. Whew, that was a little over 1 minute. What to do? Anyway, let's start the apartment tour. A warm welcome to the Richardson residence. Well, that's pretty much it, and the GoPro does make everything look a little bigger. It's kind of like van life without the van or the wheels, and we can't even go outside these days. But hey, this is what $350 a month gets you in Phnom Penh, which I find to be a very reasonable price for a new build 1-bedroom apartment in a pretty central location. But in 5 days, we're moving 2 minutes up the road to our new apartment, where we will essentially triple the amount of space we have available to us. But before we do that, I would like to give you a little excursion of our current home, and let us begin with the workroom. So this right here is my office where I work my 9 to 5, and also my studio where I work my 5 to 9, editing photos, making videos, planning trips, and pondering deep thoughts. And because I spend so many hours here, I have tried to make this space as functional as possible. Starting at desk level, here I have 2 screens, which is great because it gives me the impression of being more productive. And the wide screen right here is supported by a beautiful custom designed red brick shelf thing. And the other is supported by this plastic thing, which I absolutely love. You can bring it everywhere, even coffee shops, and maintain the very best of postures. Funnily enough, despite this nice setup, I do end up sitting in all corners of the apartment, seeking inspiration with terrible posture. Moving over here, I have my podcasting mic, which was actually a really great purchase for videos, yes, but even for work calls, because now I do get complimented every now and then on my crisp audio. Moving onwards and upwards to level 1, here I have all the essential gear I need within an arm's length, a couple hard drives, some cables, some more cables on hooks, and over here, even more cables on strategically placed hooks. Moving leftwards, we've got this cool Tintin plaque which was generously gifted to us in Siem Reap on my birthday in the New Zealander Jungle Burger Sports Bar. It really encapsulates my little Cambodian life quite nicely. I came here from Belgium and I've been exploring Cambodia, including Angkor Wat, and I also made a mini cyclo documentary, so we thought this was pretty neat. Let us keep going. Over here we have some camera gear and my battery charging station. I used to always go out with empty batteries and come home with empty SD cards, now a thing of the past. Moving up to level 2, here we've got some non-fiction books and some cool little ornaments. This 3-legged hippo right here I bought in a Zambian market. I didn't want it, but the guy was such an exceptional salesman. And now the hippo and I, we travel the world together, and along the way he somehow lost one of his feet. Actually both his feet. 2-legged hippo. Next up, we've got this bracelet from Iraqi Kurdistan, which is used as a sort of old school fidget. And there you see all the old guys sipping their tea and flicking their beads. And these 2 lovebirds right here, Daniela painted while COVID kept us apart for a full 8 months. I spotted the real ones in the Philippines and sent her a video, which she then went ahead and watercolored. This guy right here is a black medicine ball that cost me a full $8, and I absolutely love it. I find myself doing all sorts of weird stretches as I go about my day, and most of all, it's really easy to travel with. So that concludes the tour of the office. Now let us go over to the cookhouse. Follow me. As we make our way over, right here we have our mini pantry with a couple more books and assortment of coffees, condiments, and spices, true products of globalization, pretty much like anyone's shelf nowadays. And up here, some cool souvenirs. Right here, for example, Daniela painted this Sudanese kid that I met and photographed while I was camping out in the desert at the Meru Pyramids in Sudan. Now over to the kitchenette. I'm about 20% too big for this kitchen. We just about make it work. Well, I'd probably be starving if it wasn't for Daniela here. I mostly use this space to make my coffee, which I do in this little AeroPress right here. Ever since living in Ethiopia, man, I love my morning coffee. So in celebration for my love for coffee, allow me to create a little cliche coffee making montage. Much better. Moving on, over here we have the blender, which we use almost every morning for breakfast with a mix of fruit, seeds, and nuts, and then I add in some oats to bulk it up, and it keeps us going until lunchtime. And here on top of the fridge is where we keep our fruit, most of which we buy down the alley. And instead of telling you, I might as well show you, because every time we go shopping for fruit and vegetables, it is quite an experience. So what you see right here is the area behind our building, which is in the middle of what can be best described as a well-established but still informal area. And it's really quite fascinating. Within less than 2 minutes, I have access to all the basic needs I could ever want, including a hairdresser's, a dress shop, a mini pagoda workshop, coffee shops, money exchanges, and all sorts of little markets selling food. And once you leave the back streets for the main streets, you enter what is known as Basak Lane, a street lined with really nice bars and restaurants, which is pretty neat. So that concludes the tour of the cookhouse. Moving on to the common room. So over here is where we eat. You may have noticed that we do not have a dinner table. We either eat on this table or we eat Japanese style outside on the balcony. And over here we have the cinema. Well, it's a TV with an HDMI cable. And for when we cannot find a worthwhile movie, we do have our very own personal aquarium. And if we do not know what to watch, we do have the option to listen. And for that, we have a growing collection of musical instruments that comprises a guitar, a kalimba, and a ukulele. So the story behind this guitar is basically we spent New Year's on a beautiful Cambodian island known as Korong Samnoem with quite an alternative group of people, and it seemed that everyone could play the guitar like no other, and at night we would sit in circles and they would pass around the guitar, and if it ever came to me, there was nothing I can do because I don't know how to play the guitar. So I came back from this holiday feeling somewhat inadequate but also inspired, and so I bought a guitar. Better late than never, right? However, I haven't created much time to play, and I can't play a full song yet, just little bits and pieces. Perhaps you can guess the song that I'm playing right now. And moving on with the tour, you may have noticed a world map behind me, and that is what I use to chart my cartography. Now, what we really have here is a paper map with pins, because in Cambodia you cannot buy a scratch map. And here the red pins indicate the places I have lived, and the other pins are the places that I have visited, colored by continent. And it's quite cool because each pin prompts a whole load of memories from a place and time. So for example, in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, I went there with a couple friends, and let me show you some. Actually, forget it. We'll cover this another time. Moving on with the tour. And this right here is the guest bedroom. Well, the couch does fold out for our smaller sized friends, and here behind is where we keep some stuff like Daniela's roller skates and our yoga mats for some sunrise yoga and sport on the rooftop. Next, let us look up. Here we have our little museum. These are my travel soil samples, a collection I started about 3 years ago. And to you, these may just be dirt, but to me, much like the map, they are bottled up memories. And then down here, we have our little adventure drawer where we keep all our travel gear so we're ready to go at any moment. And we also have 2 mountain bikes downstairs, and you can go on great little cycles. 20 minutes from here, you just grab the ferry over the river and you're in Kandal province, and it is the pure countryside. It is truly a great mental and physical escape, so we keep our gear for that in here. Moving on with the tour, over here we have the elevated sun deck. Let me show you around. And over here we have our majestic view, which looks out onto a pagoda, which is beautiful 6 days of the week, but once a week, every week, normally on a Sunday, they start chanting mantras at 5 a.m., which is far from ideal. And then moving over here, we get to experience firsthand the dynamism of the burgeoning real estate market in the form of 24/7 construction. And so this building is coming for the Burj Khalifa. They just keep adding floors. When is it going to end? And now moving over into the bed chamber. And in this bedroom is where the magic happens. And I mean that quite literally. Daniela has her office space here, and here in Cambodia, she is working as a kindergarten teacher, and her classes really do sound magical. Those are some lucky kids. And here we also have part of her growing collection of plants, which spreads to all corners of the apartment. And like with any bedroom, we have a bed. We have some cupboards. This is her cupboard, my cupboard, and these are my clothes. I don't own all that much, a couple shirts, a couple t-shirts, and some sport clothes. And that's really because, well, 1, it is so hot and humid in Cambodia that we don't need to wear layers. 2, we move countries and travel so frequently that it's just easier to not own as much. Moving on, one thing I want to point out, the beautiful plastic Baroque-esque knobs on the curtains. Look at these, just look at them. Living the luxurious life we are. No, but actually, this was one of the least touched up apartments we came across when we were searching 6 months ago. There are some really shocking apartments on the market covered in all sorts of weird furniture. When we saw this place, it was fairly simple, and in my books, less is more. And before we go, here is our photo wall covered in photographs of beautiful memories with each other from the UAE over into our new life. And over to the last stop on our excursion, to the spa. I have nothing interesting to say about our bathroom.
It's a very minimalistic design with a lot of natural light.
And do you notice anything peculiar about this bathroom? There's no toilet paper because we're in Asia. So there's no toilet paper panic buying over here. So this marks the end of the tour. Thank you for joining us on this excursion of our second Cambodian apartment. See you in the third. Until next time. Kosi, we're done recording. We can make a mess of the apartment again. This brings us nicely to the end of the video, and a big warm welcome to our new home, number 25. We made the move over the last couple days as I was editing this video. And here we are, 2 minutes and 300 meters later, we are at our new home. Let me give you a quick sneak peek. And as you can see, we have so much more space for activities and for thinking. And I also have my own office space from which I can find deep focus. And also check out this cool feat of engineering Daniela has already produced. It's a very intuitive design.
Orkumbon!
Arkun! Yes! Pretty nifty, right? Anyway, I'd like to say a big thanks for watching the video. This was somewhat of an atypical video, perhaps overly focused on me, but at the moment, circumstance really dictates, can't really go anywhere, so there's not much I can really produce right now. I also don't think that every video should have to cater for a mass audience. Sometimes it is nice to create something very personal for my future self and friends and family, and I do think that my future self, for a version of me with a nice clean haircut, will watch back on this video and, well, probably cringe at some of the very bad jokes, but it will bring back lots of nice memories because we have now moved out of our home. We will not be returning, and as you probably saw, our home and your home also is much more than just walls and windows. It's a place full of memories. It's like a little personal museum, and it's sad to see that go, but at least I have this video to bring back those memories in. In the meantime, I really hope things return to normal soon here in Cambodia. I did have to put a number of projects on hold, but very grateful to have a roof over our head, and I am praying and wishing the best of luck to our Cambodian brothers and sisters who may not be so fortunate. Before you go, one last thing. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. It's the first time I've asked. I don't know if it makes a difference, but this can serve as an experiment. And after all, it is the only way I can see whether or not you are enjoying the content I'm producing. Anyway, that's it from me. Take good care, guys. Until next time. I will be posting more photographs on my Instagram and sharing more videos on my YouTube. So if you enjoyed what you saw, do feel free to check me out on both those platforms. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the next video.